What's going on, guys, and welcome to This Week in the Shop. And it's been a real rowdy and ridiculous, and it's been a week, I will tell you guys that. With the title, Explosion in the Shop, no, that's not clickbait. This is a automotive dealership shop, and we had a very weird explosion in the shop this week. Everyone was doing their thing, working away diligently, and all of a sudden we heard a very loud boom. And it almost sounded like an airbag went off, which is very uncommon, but things have happened. Airbags have gone off in the shop or what have you, and everybody poked their heads up from whatever they were working on and started taking inventory of who was out, who was under a car, what happened. We went to all the cars in the shop and heard or saw nothing. No airbags blown. We happened to have an electrician up on the roof working. I don't even know what they were working on, but we ended up going up on the roof to look for something bad that happened and didn't see anything. And a little bit later, we found the issue. On a hybrid Chrysler Pacifica, the Pacifica hybrid, very similar to the Jeep Wrangler 4xe or the Grand Cherokee 4xe, the Chrysler Pacifica has a plug-in hybrid. You plug the thing in, you get 20, 25 miles of range, and then it goes back to being a normal hybrid vehicle. Yeah, that thing was in the shop for a service high voltage or service charging system message, and it had a loss of isolation code. Now, loss of isolation is a pretty bad code to have in a hybrid vehicle. That means the 400 or whatever volt hybrid battery system, or in an EV, the battery, has lost isolation. And isolation means that that system is isolated from the chassis, from the 12 volt system, from components it shouldn't be touching. And again, that van, that Pacifica, had a loss of isolation. That's pretty serious in the shop. That means something is potentially shorted. Whether that means the 400 volt battery is shorted to the chassis and you touch it, you get buzzed, or something internally in the circuitry. But what we ended up finding after opening the hood, or the technician again that was working on it, opened the hood and then saw the PIM module, that's PIM for the power inverter module, had exploded in the vehicle. And to be honest, I probably shouldn't be talking about this. This is kind of a weird thing that, Lord knows, we have never seen it before. Will this be the start of some recall going forward in the future? I don't know. It's a very weird, very uncommon. Again, we've never seen it. Again, I probably shouldn't be talking about it until we've resolved the issue, figured out what the problem was, but I'm sharing what happened in the shop. So that, again, I've got pictures here, the PIM module, the power inverter module, the metal case blew off the side of that module. We don't know why. Obviously, there was a lot of things going on in there. Are there large capacitors in there? And one of them blew the capacitor off, and the percussion of that blew the metal side panel off. Again, we don't know. This thing is in warranty, I believe. We got with our tech support and said, hey, most parts on a hybrid are on restriction, meaning we've got to get with Chrysler for approval, even as the technician, to be able to put that weird hybrid part on. We got with them and said, hey, this thing exploded, and they want us to proceed with replacement of the power inverter module. Going to be a little scary for the tech putting that on, knowing that that thing blew up, but wildly enough, that blowing the side panel off broke the engine airbox even. So, crazy thing, again, we all thought an airbag went off. It was a pretty big deal. Everybody was kind of a little bit startled by the fact that we've got stuff that can blow the side panel off. Thank goodness he wasn't in the middle of diagnosis. had his head down there, had his hand down there, Lord knows. It could have been a lot worse. Thank goodness we just had a plastic air box and the module that lost their lives to the cause, but maybe I'll update you guys next week if that thing happens to get the parts put on it and everything's good or what. I don't know. It was pretty weird and pretty wild. Up next, not something terribly common that we see, but a scattered 5.7 liter Hemi in a cop car Durango Pursuit. Now, I don't really know the details on this thing. It was towed into the shop as vehicle stopped running while driving. And as you guys can see from these pictures, yeah, it stopped running in a quick manner. Again, a lot of times or oftentimes you never really know what the point of failure was when an engine has catastrophically came apart, whether it was a intake valve that broke and fell on top of the piston then munched itself and turned into a million pieces, which failed the rod, and then the rod you just don't really know. But again, we don't often see catastrophic engine failures really in the last multiple years. So this was, again, just kind of a cool, interesting picture, seeing a Hemi that met its demise. One thing really, really cool that I have not got to see for many, many years, 2.4 liter Multiair. Now, yes, this is the Fiat-based engine, the Multiairs. They are in the Fiat 500s, the Fiat 500Ls, but they're also in a lot of our Jeep and Dodge products, the Dodge Dart, the Jeep Cherokee, the Jeep Compass, the Jeep Renegade. Again, all of those little 4-cylinder motors are often the Multiair motor, and I should get into a whole nother episode on the Multiair engine on how a recall with a software update fixed the fact that they used to burn oil and now don't with a software update. Pretty cool, I must say. But something I found, I was the first person in our shop to discover the issue and find a resolution. Way back in the day, we had a bunch of Multiair Jeep Renegades that would come into the shop every single winter. It was a security company that would drive around Walmart's parking lot, the little fake rental cops that drive around parking lots, mall lots, Walmarts. Every single winter, without fail, they would get towed into the dealership with a crank no start. And at that time, years ago, we didn't really know what the cause was. You'd drag them into the shop, you'd pull the spark plugs out, and they would be absolutely fuel fouled, dripping with fuel, and they wouldn't start. You'd pull all the spark plugs out, crank the engine over to spit all the fuel out of the cylinders, clean the spark plugs off or replace them if they were bad enough, throw them back in, mess with it, crank on it, and finally get them to kind of sputter and start up. What we found, or what I found, with that exhaust setup on those Jeep Compasses, Jeep Renegades, with a lot or extremely high idle time in the cold winter weather, the condensation that is naturally occurring in all of our combustion engine exhaust would build up in the muffler, and there were no factory weep holes or drain holes. So you kind of probably get where I'm going. The water condensation would build up in the muffler as that vehicle was idled, putted around the parking lots, never really driven at highway speed. And at the end of their shift, what would you do? You'd shut your vehicle off in the below freezing weather. That condensation, which is now amassed to gallons of water in your exhaust system, would freeze solid. And one of the very important parts of the combustion process is getting air into the motor, but also getting air out of the motor. And when your exhaust is frozen solid, it can't do that. In turn, us dragging these vehicles into the shop and messing with them, that water would slowly thaw out enough where you would start getting exhaust flow, and then the vehicles would start up, and we never really knew for the first few years what was, again, the root cause of the problem until I finally pulled one of the exhaust systems apart and had gallons of water dump all over the place. So now, The fix or the correction was drilling holes in your muffler and your exhaust resonator. All of the low points in that exhaust system, I would take a small, 1/8" drill bit and rip holes in the bottoms to work as a drain. So even if that vehicle was just idled around its whole life in a parking lot, the water or the condensation could slowly weep out of the exhaust. It could still be shut off at the end of the night and it wouldn't freeze and the darn thing would start the next day. So again, it's been years and years, but finally one of them was brought in. It was a 2017 Jeep Compass, again with that Multiair engine, and the thing was frozen solid. It was not me that worked on it. It was a new technician across the shop, and I saw him messing with this thing for a long amount of time and finally walked over, found the issue, and showed him a drill bit and explained, just like I did to you guys, the whole crazy weird deal about frozen exhaust on your Multiair engine, or specifically on your Jeep Renegade Compass, that sort of thing. So I got to drill some holes and flood the shop floor with water, and everybody was again quickly reminded of all of our Jeep Renegades from years back that I did this on in the shop. Now, last but not least, a pretty big revelation, a pretty big issue that we've just found this week in the shop. 3.6 liters, specifically 2014 and up. 2013 and down had a different style oil filter, but again, 2014 and up have a revised new style oil filter, and so be it. The cap is different. The whole assembly is a little bit different, but we found out that Chinese or cheap oil filters are causing 3.6 liters to fail. Yeah, exactly. What we found is the incorrectly spec'd oil filters allow the oil filter pressure relief valve cap spring-loaded mechanism to basically fail, break, shoot through the oil filter, and plug the passageway for the oil to go back into the engine, basically rendering your engine with no oil pressure. We just had a 2024 Jeep Grand Cherokee L, a brand new enterprise rental car, come into the shop, making some pretty atrocious knocking, rattling noise on startup. Pulled the oil filter out and the thing was absolutely covered with metal, with glitter as we call it in the shop. That means bearing material, etc. Come to find out, that thing had a China branded oil filter, and again, that pressure relief valve spring-loaded mechanism was broken off and gone, meaning it was in its previous oil filter. The oil looked brand new and the filter looked brand new. We're assuming, again, that vehicle was a rental car. It was rented out. It made noise. The customer complained about it when they brought it back or what have you. The enterprise rental car company changed the oil and the filter and then brought it into us. Thank goodness we just, again, found out about this filter issue. So we immediately went to our oil filter bucket, or our used oil filters that get taken by a service, and started sifting through these darn things and found a number of them that did not have these kind of internal support ribs that basically support this weird pressure relief part in the oil filter cap. So what I can tell you, if you own a 3.6 liter, do not use an aftermarket oil filter. Probably the good brands are okay. I would assume a Wix, I don't even know what to tell you. All I can tell you is if I owned a 3.6, which I have, mom and dad have a couple, I would only be putting a Mopar oil filter. I would not put any other brand. Now you may be saying, well, great, now I've got to go to the dealership. No, you don't. Walmart carries Mopar oil filters, and they typically have a whole bunch of them down on the shelf. Run to your local Walmart, grab a Mopar oil filter, or order them online, order a pack of 5, whatever, on Amazon. But again, do not, please do not put aftermarket or cheap Chinese oil filters in your 3.6. Again, specifically 2014 and up is what's going to cause you an issue. If you've got an aftermarket oil filter and it comes into the shop, it comes into my stall, and I happen to see that that pressure relief valve mechanism is broken and plugged the oil passage on that filter, unfortunately, that is not a manufacturer defect. It's hard for us to be able to warranty an issue due to a aftermarket filter. Now you might be saying, well, that's ridiculous. You know, I don't want to have to buy a Mopar filter. And again, there has to be other brands that are of like OEM quality. But going through our used oil filter bucket, we found a whole handful of filters that didn't have these kind of internal support ribs, if you will, that allow that pressure cap to have somewhere to sit and not allow it to go through the oil filter and plug the other end. So, whew, it's been a week, guys. I unfortunately forgot my tool of the week. It was gonna be some cool remote hose clamp pliers, which are an absolute game changer. I will probably bring those home with me for next week because they are really, really cool. Here's a picture of them here in use, but boy. So what did we learn? Use Mopar oil filters for your 3.6. If you've got a Multiair, an older Multiair Jeep, drill some drain holes in the exhaust if you're going to be idling around a Walmart parking lot for hours on end before shutting it off. And yeah, be safe out there with your hybrids, with your EV vehicles. There is a lot of voltage, a lot of power in them. And yeah, they can bite you if you are not careful. Now, am I a EV and hybrid naysayer? No, absolutely not. The wife has owned 3 EVs now, and we're kind of looking at another 4th EV, but I'm a fan. They're a little bit scarier, of course, to work on with 400 volts of electricity ready to zap you at a moment's notice, but they're all orange wires, and you know not to lick the orange wires at the end of the day. So guys, thanks for coming out into the garage, and thanks for hopefully listening through another This Week in the Shop. And golly, what a week. Let's hope next week is better or worse. I don't know what's better for you guys on interesting things here in the shop. So guys, as always, thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you guys next time.